Good morning. Morning. Or as we say in Texas sometimes, howdy. Yeah. Welcome to Boston. Whoops, that's not good. There we go. Welcome to our 72nd Annual Academy of Management meeting. And again, welcome to Boston, as we know, the beautiful location for our event this year. We do indeed appreciate you being in Boston, and we are pleased to announce that there are a number of us here. We have 11,002 registrants this year for the meeting, which is an all-time record. And as we see, we have 77 countries represented and 2,354 first-time attendees. So welcome all. We're very pleased to have you here. And as we know, as we have seen scrolling on the screens, we do have a number of sponsors whose contributions are incredibly significant to what we can do with our annual Academy Management meeting. And we would like to take some time at the beginning of our program today to give our recognition and appreciation to these sponsors who are able to be with us today. And so I will call the sponsors' names. First, our platinum sponsors, and each individual representing an institution and organization will come to the stage, and we have a plaque to provide in recognition of our appreciation for the sponsor support of our Academy. First is IMD. Next is the Eisenberg School of Management, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Next is Society for Human Resource Management, SHRM. Global Lens, case study publisher of the University of Michigan. China Europe International Business School. And BI Norwegian Business School. We also have a gold sponsor represented here today, the Darden School of Business, University of Virginia. Thank you very much, sponsors. We really do appreciate your support. And in addition, we appreciate the support, of course, of the sponsors who could not be with us today. Thank you very much. As your program chair, I am indeed honored and privileged to extend a very warm welcome to you and to thank you for attending the 72nd Annual Academy of Management meeting. For some, this is your first Academy meeting, as we announced. To you, we want to extend a particularly warm welcome and commitment to help you feel at home with new friends. For others, you've been attending our association's meetings for some period of time, including for decades in the instances of a few people. Regardless of the number of meetings you've attended, though, we warmly thank each of you for your interest in the Academy of Management annual meeting. And I'd also like to say, of course, that we hope to see you for many years to come at our meetings. As we know, our annual meeting is one path through which, working collaboratively, we are able to serve our Academy's mission, which is to build a vibrant and supportive community of scholars by markedly expanding opportunities to connect and explore ideas. As we consider this mission, I would like to say on behalf of everyone involved with this year's program that we hope you will find your experience during the 2012 meeting to be vibrant and supportive, and that as a result, each of you will encounter multiple opportunities to connect with others and to share ideas with colleagues from across the world. Well, let's look at our agenda for today. As we will see, we'll first thank those who have given so much to developing the program. A few reflections about this year's theme will follow a short discussion of the history of themes for our annual Academy meeting. Awards will then be presented to recognize some of our members' outstanding contributions in different areas. Ann Suey will then deliver her presidential address. Along with you, I very much look forward to hearing from our president this morning. Our program will close with a few activities and comments related to leadership roles and program highlights. So let's begin by expressing some appreciations. There are many people to thank for their excellent work in preparing the 2012 Academy meeting. As we know, a significant amount of effort on the parts of many people is necessary to develop each year's program. As was shown earlier on the screens, this year we received and handled 6,672 scholarly papers, 363 unique symposia proposals, and we are offering 1,835 conference sessions. And 9,369 individuals are a part of this year's program. Evidence indicates that each of these totals is a record for our Academy's annual meeting. Moreover, and importantly, we are very pleased by the fact that those participating in this year's program represent 85 countries. Thus, as these data suggest, we are truly a global enterprise when it comes to forming and then experiencing our annual meeting. We want to very sincerely thank each and every one of those individuals for their contributions. As we see, many roles are involved here, including those of paper submitters, paper presenters, as well as discussion sessions and facilitators. We also want to thank each individual serving any leadership position in the divisions and interest groups. Perhaps in particular, the program chair for each of these parts of our Academy deserves special recognition for what at times are the Herculean efforts they take to develop a program for their division or interest group. And, of course, forming our program would be impossible without the timely services of our excellent reviewers. Overall, close to 6,000 individuals served as reviewers for this year's program. A hearty appreciation to each and every one of you for all you have done. Those who led the development of different aspects of this year's program, for example, PDWs, discussion paper sessions, and so forth, also richly deserve our recognition and appreciation. In each and every case, these individuals freely gave their time and energy to bring excellence to us within the part of the program for which they kindly accepted responsibility. Those leading these efforts met deadlines and did everything possible to bring positive experiences to those submitting their papers, symposia, and proposals for review. We'll begin this part of our recognitions with the All-Academy Theme Committee. Bat Barjagal chaired this committee. Joanna Marr, Deb Mukherjee, and Jordan Siegel joined Bat to complete their work. For the Caucuses Committee, Cynthia Saikota and Wee Lau joined Chair Ted Brown to serve in these important roles. With respect to the Cross-Divisional Papers Committee, John Michael chaired this committee and was joined by Chris Henley and Herman Dofor to complete this work. Finally, our discussion paper committee operation was chaired by John Humphreys, who was joined by Stephanie Payne and Russell Clayton. In addition to thanking all of these members of our community for their excellent work, I would like to also extend my debt of gratitude on a personal level to the entire Academy of Management staff, every single member of the staff, as well as members of our Board of Governors for their encouragement and continuing support. In particular, Jimmy Lee, our Academy's program manager, deserves special recognition. Those of us working to develop the program recognize Jimmy's importance to our efforts. Finally, I want to thank Deanna Johnston, with whom I work daily back in the office, for her tireless efforts with this program. In summary, I know we all extend a very sincere and huge thank you to each and every person who has worked to form our 2012 program. And of course, this thank you goes out to many of you in the audience this morning. Now let's spend just a few minutes describing the history of themes as part of our Academy. As we know, the informal economy is our theme for this year. We'll say a bit more about this theme in a few moments. But first, let's talk a bit about the history of program themes in the Academy. As Susan Jackson mentioned last year during her presidential address, Chicago, Illinois was the setting of our first annual meeting, one that took place in 1939. It wasn't until 1987, however, that an official theme was associated with a meeting. The theme for that year, when Art Bedian was the program chair in New Orleans, was Internationalizing the Field of Management. And we've had program themes ever since 1987, with last year's theme being West Meets East, when Mingjir Chen served as our program chair. The primary reasons for linking a theme to each annual meeting are to highlight an area of inquiry to which we as management scholars have the potential to contribute, and in the process of doing so, making progress relative to or in light of the Academy of Management's vision. And our vision is as follows: to inspire and enable a better world through our scholarship and teaching about management and organizations. Additionally, our theme each year creates an identity for the meeting. This identity is spotlighted and supported in numerous ways, including developing the All-Academy theme sessions and by using a theme-related logo throughout the year in multiple communication channels. The hope is that each theme will challenge us as researchers and teachers to engage in conversations about important topics and to inform the nature of the conversations as a result of the work we produce. The scope of our program themes that has been revealed across time is quite fascinating. We've had several themes that collectively have focused on topics such as knowledge creation and its application in firms and societies, international dimensions of management, the nature of organizations and life within them, and the framework or orientations that influence how we approach our work. An example of this kind of theme is Ann Sui's 2010 Dare to Care theme. In each instance, a theme asks us to give thought to a topic or an orientation with which we may not be completely familiar at a point in time, primarily for the purpose of considering how management scholarship can inform the relevant conversations. And this is the case for our theme this year, the informal economy. As management scholars, the extant body of our work speaks mainly to the seen or known economy and the firms and workers associated with it. While this formal economy, of course, is incredibly important, the breadth and scope of the economy, the informal economy, demand our attention as well. With additional scholarly work, we can enhance the knowledge base about managing firms that are not subject to, for whatever reason, formal regulatory influence, which is a key aspect of firms operating in the informal economy. As we continue with our discussion about this year's theme, I want to acknowledge now that I've drawn from many sources to prepare these short remarks. But to conserve time, and given that our interest is merely to introduce the theme, rather than to examine it in detail, I'll not provide references for the points that we'll consider this morning. But in the spirit of our scholarly work, I can say that references are definitely available upon request. So what is the formal economy? And what is an informal firm? Not surprisingly, given the scholars from several domains study these phenomena, there are different definitions. Some economists, for example, see the informal economy as economic activity that is conducted by unregistered firms or by registered firms but hidden from taxation. From sociologists, a perspective is that the informal economy is characterized by one central feature. It is unregulated by the institutions of society in a legal and social environment in which similar activities are indeed regulated. Combining these thoughts, others suggest that the informal economy is concerned with economic units and workers that remain outside the world of regulated economic activities and protected employment relationships. Regardless of the definitions used, however, there is some agreement around the position that the informal economy has its own institutional codes, rules, and regulations. For our purposes, we are excluding the economy in which illicit or criminal exchanges take place that violate formal criminal statutes rather than violate a society's rules and regulations that are specified by civil law. The economy we are excluding has various names, including the criminal economy and the renegade economy. Clearly, an economy in which illegal goods and services are produced and or distributed through illegitimate means may also deserve our attention as scholars, but it differs somewhat from our view and specification of the formal economy. Relatedly, an informal firm is a business that is unregistered with one or more governmental entities with which it is obligated to register while deriving income by producing legal goods and services. A key characteristic of the informal firm is that it relies on contracts, networks, and ties that are more social in nature than legal. Informal firms vary considerably by type. One example is firms operating within immigrant communities that are part of larger cities such as Mumbai, New York City, and many others. And large multinational firms may be involved with the informal economy, of course, when purchasing components used to produce their final product from small and medium-sized enterprises located throughout the world. In these instances, the firms producing the components may be unregistered and or unregulated in terms of their operations. So how large is the informal economy? As we might expect, there are numerous estimates as to the size of the informal economy in the world's different regions and countries. And precisely specifying the nature and size of the informal economy remains an important topic for scholars to explore. To cite but a few statistics, some estimate that non-agricultural employment accounted for by the informal economy is close to 80% in Africa, 57% in Latin America and the Caribbean, and 45 to 85% in Asia. To name only a few countries, the informal economy is thought to account for roughly 67% of GDP in both Georgia and Bolivia, 60% in Peru, and 40% in Colombia. But the informal economy also accounts for meaningful percentages of GDP in developed countries as well. Consider, for example, that in Finland, this percentage is estimated to be around 18%, approximately 16% in Germany, 15% in France, and 9% in the United States. In even broader paintbrush strokes, some suggest that the informal economy in developing economies is between 40 and 60% of GDP. In transition economies, the estimate is 30 to 40%, while in developed economies, the range of GDP accounted for by the informal economy is estimated to be between 10 and 40%. Finally, some argue that the informal economy in total may be as much as a $10 trillion industry, making it the second largest economy in the world. Of course, we could certainly debate about the accuracy of these estimates and others that are available to us about the size of the informal economy. Nonetheless, regardless of the percentages used, I think it is reasonable to submit for our consideration that the informal economy plays a critical role in economic and social transactions occurring throughout the world. Having observed data such as these, one analyst concluded that, and I quote, "The informal economy is a force to be reckoned with," while another suggested that, again a quote, "The informal employment we see is a new facet of contemporary capitalism that is growing in tandem with economic globalization." So why should we, as management scholars, study the informal economy, given that economists, sociologists, political scientists, among others, work in this domain? In response to this question, I'll offer just a few comments to support the position that management scholars, we, have the potential to contribute meaningfully to the conversation about the informal economy. For example, the informal economy is clearly different from the formal economy, yielding a different context in which to enhance our understanding of contingent managerial practices. In this sense, the informal economy is a different setting in which we can test the applicability of our management theories. Another opportunity is for us to learn more, both descriptively and prescriptively, about managerial practices where regulatory influence may be minimal. More generally, in light of the argument that the informal economy, in some form or fashion, is thought now to be permanent rather than a transitory phenomenon, we need to produce scholarship with the potential to influence policies at the macro level and practices at the individual and firm levels. I am indeed confident that using your lens, many additional reasons for us as management scholars to study the informal economy could be identified. Well, what are a few potential topics that we as management scholars might consider? And I will offer just a few. In my opinion, the topics for us to consider and the questions for us to answer are indeed restricted only by our imagination and energy. Here is an example. How do moral and ethical values interact with economic and political considerations in the informal economy? Can we distinguish between good and bad informal economy work and firms? How do firms recruit, train, compensate, and retain workers in the informal economy? How do entrepreneurial ventures emerge in the informal economy? To what extent does our knowledge and leadership about leadership, motivation, negotiation, justice, diversity, and equity generalize to the informal economy? What organizational forms are best suited for use in firms competing in the informal economy? Should firms simultaneously operate or compete in the formal and the informal economy? If so, why and how? And in a general sense, what unique managerial and leadership challenges are associated with the informal economy and informal firms? As noted previously, we have opportunities during this year's meeting to join others to examine questions and issues such as these, as well as many others. Today, for example, Sunday, we have opportunities to attend symposia and PDWs that deal specifically with the informal economy. Many different topics are being examined today in these symposia and PDWs, including some dealing with questions we mentioned a moment ago. Here is but a short sampling of what the All Academy Theme Program offers us today. The challenges of doing business in the African informal economy, a case of Kenya. The informal workforce in a global economy. Corporate citizenship in the informal economy. Varieties of informal work in comparative perspective. Viewing the informal economy through the lens of sustainability. And backstreet businesses, covert collectives, and beyond, unmasking hidden organizations. As we see, the All Academy Theme Program presents a rich set of opportunities for us to participate with colleagues to explore fascinating issues. And of course, this is but a short sample of what is available to us through the All Academy theme sessions. But the good news does not stop here. We also have excellent scholarly papers dealing with this year's theme that will be presented tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday. Here are but a few papers available to us as part of this year's scholarly program. Determinants of formal entrepreneurship versus informal entrepreneurship at the macro level. Opportunities for a sustainable informal economy, the case of Mexico. Beyond the profit motive, employer and employee relations in the immigrant informal economy. Organizing the unorganized, exploring organizational forms of informal sector firms. Religion in the formal and informal economy, Catholicism and professionals in the Arabian Gulf. And finally, we even have a paper that deals with some of our students, called The Impact of E-Textbooks on Student Performance and the Used Textbook Market. This paper asserts that some students have started informal businesses by importing textbooks from different nations and then selling them in the United States and/or in the market in which they are pursuing an education. As is the case with the All Academy theme sessions then, we see that our scholarly program offers a rich set of opportunities for us to explore various aspects of the informal economy and to identify questions we might seek to answer through our research, as well as insights about the informal economy we may wish to discuss with our students. Thus, our program here in Boston surfaces a number of opportunities for us to learn about the informal economy, a theme, however, that is not without controversy. In this sense, the informal economy likely has aspects we can admire, but as well ones we find appalling and distasteful, such as the renegade economy that I briefly mentioned earlier. On the bright side, some say that the informal economy generates some positive outcomes, including those of providing essential services and employment opportunities to fill gaps in formal systems, generating some living standards when formal economies at a point in time fail to provide viable opportunities, offering a path in response to what some have identified, and I quote here, an exaggerated government influence in civil society and economic activity that creates hyper-bureaucratization that deters citizens from pursuing a legal path. On the negative side, those working in the informal economy lack formal representation and may be exploited as a result. Corrupt practices are sometimes the currency of transactions in the informal economy and between informal economy firms and governmental agencies that are charged with enforcing a society's rules, regulations, and laws. Natural environments may be abused through informal economy activity. Governments may be undermined. Very discouragingly, in some nations, estimates are that as much as 75% of those working in the informal economy live in poverty. Indeed, some argue that most of the world's poor live in the informal sector. And finally, evidence suggests, and I quote, that women's participation in the informal economy is highly correlated with gender marginalization, as presented by lower quality job opportunities and irregular informal employment of women in a society. Clearly, I know we, would argue definitively that those experiencing the negative outcomes of the informal economy, such as the few mentioned here, require face, voice, and representation by many, including organizational scientists such as management scholars. In closing these remarks about this year's program and theme, I would again like to express my very sincere and deep appreciation to everyone involved with developing the program and for the opportunity to serve you and our Academy as the 2012 Program Chair. I am indeed very, very honored to serve you in this capacity. I hope each and every person attending our meetings this year, the 11,002 of us, will have a great experience while learning about phenomena that are of interest to you and while collaborating with fellow scholars from around the world. Thank you, all the best to every one of you, and we will see you in Orlando. Thank you. We do have an additional platinum sponsor to recognize and express our appreciation to, and that would be Copenhagen Business School. At this time, I am very pleased to introduce two gentlemen who will be involved with the awards presentation part of our program. First will be Bert Cannella, who is the chair of the All-Academy Awards Committee for this year. Bert will present this year's Distinguished Educator, Service, Scholar Practitioner, and Scholarly Contributions to Management Awards. Secondly, Professor Michael Freese, a member of the George R. Terry Book Award Committee, will present this year's finalist for this prestigious award. Bert?
Let me begin by introducing the committee that evaluated all the nominees for our 4 awards. It included Blake Ashforth of Arizona State, Marianne Glenn from Boston College, and Karen Golden Biddle from Boston University. I appreciate all the work they did. It was quite an extensive amount. I have 4 awards to give today, and I want to start by just mentioning, clarifying for all of you. Some of our nominees have family members here and others who aren't members of the Academy. So let me say to those folks, these awards are a big deal. This is a career achievement award. In other words, an award for people not who wrote a good paper or who did a good job serving on a committee. This is a career set of contributions here that we've evaluated, and our award winners really have had tremendously distinguished careers. And I'll begin with the Distinguished Educator. The criteria here is developing a person who's had an outstanding career in developing doctoral students, in teaching effectively, in fostering pedagogic innovation, and in also developing effective materials and so forth. Our winner this year is Anita McGann. Thank you. Okay. Anita, let me tell you about Anita before we let her off the stage here. Anita is the Rodman Chair in Management at the University of Toronto. Since 2010, she's been Associate Dean for Research and Director of the PhD program at Toronto. Anita earned her Bachelor of Arts in Humanities from Northwestern, an MBA with distinction. She was a Baker Scholar at Harvard, and a PhD and Master of Arts in Business Economics from Harvard. The last 2 degrees were earned in 2 years and simultaneously. She's held regular faculty positions at Harvard, at Boston University, and the University of Toronto. Anita's contributions to management education have been numerous, not just her classroom teaching, but her development of teaching materials, her mentorship of young teachers and doctoral students, and her advocacy for management education reform. Watching her teach is an inspiring, if somewhat humbling, experience. What makes Anita so distinctive is not just her energy and enthusiasm, but how she couples an ability to demand quality in classroom discussion while maintaining kindness in her handling of students. She has an uncanny ability to be both extremely demanding and extremely supportive. She creates a classroom environment in which students prepare carefully, think deeply, and genuinely look to build on each other's comments. In the words of one of her students, "I never invested as much time or thought in any class as I did in Anita's. And no course left me as satisfied or confident that I had learned something important. Each week I looked forward to Anita's class as if it were a little jewel." Anita has written nearly 80 teaching cases, teaching notes, and support materials. Many of her cases are widely used by those of you in our audience. Beyond her teaching and her impact on the teaching of others, Anita has demonstrated a very high commitment to changing business education so that it focuses on improving society generally. Her belief is business schools can have an enormous positive impact on the world, and advocates a turn away from focus on investor returns and toward creativity and problem solving, away from value capture and toward value creation. All of the nominators also noted the hours of time and effort Anita has devoted into developing junior faculty and doctoral students. So Anita, congratulations. Okay, our next award is for distinguished service. And this is a person who's had an outstanding record in terms of enhancing our field of management and also the academy broadly speaking. And our winner this year is Jack Miner. Jack Miner earned his Bachelor of Arts in Psychology from Princeton and his Master of Arts in Clinical Psychology from Clark University and a PhD in Clinical Psychology and Personality Theory from Princeton. He's a World War II veteran, earned a Bronze Star, a Combat Infantry Badge, and 2 Battle Stars. He's held regular faculty positions at the University of Oregon, Maryland, Georgia State, and SUNY Buffalo, where he was Donald S. Carmichael Professor of Human Resources. Jack has been instrumental in advancing the field of organizational behavior. He was in the first wave of psychologists who entered the business schools in the early 60s, and while working in business schools for half a century, he's remained a regular contributor to the field of psychology. He's been a member of the APA and served on our Board of Governors, and then in the leadership of the Academy, culminating in his service as president in 1977-78. Jack was instrumental in laying the foundation for the status that Academy of Management Journal now receives, beginning with his involvement in the Academy's Publications Committee in the mid-1960s, followed by his appointment as AMJ editor in 1973. Jack worked tirelessly to make AMJ into an outlet for high-quality management research. Also during this period, as chair of the Academy's Publications Planning Committee, Jack championed the founding of Academy of Management Review. He fought hard to get that journal created. As one of his nominators noted, it's embarrassing for me to say this at this point, but a lot of us questioned whether there'd be enough papers for a second Academy journal. Obviously, that turned out to be, Jack turned out to be correct on that one, so congratulations, Jack. Our next award goes to the Distinguished Scholar Practitioner. This is a person who has done the most to enhance the linkage between scholarship and practice. And our award this year goes to Lottie Balin of MIT. Lottie Balin is Professor of Management and T. Wilson Professor of Management Emerita at the Sloan School at MIT. She earned her Bachelor of Arts in Math at Swarthmore College and her Master of Arts and Doctor of Philosophy degrees in Social Psychology at Harvard-Radcliffe. She's held faculty positions at Harvard, Radcliffe, and MIT, served as chair of the MIT faculty, and co-director of the MIT Workplace Center. She's a fellow of the APA and a charter fellow of the Association for Psychological Science. Lottie's career has been guided by 2 overarching values. These are, first, that practice-based learning should inform theory, And second, that research-based theory should inform practice. Her nominators described how her early career experiences perhaps led her to some of these values. When she graduated from Harvard with a PhD in 1956, women were typically not hired at research universities, so she took a part-time job as a research associate until MIT put her on the tenure track in the 70s. That allowed her to work part-time while her kids were young, and that practical experience made her question why organizational careers needed to be organized as they had traditionally been. In her work on, over her career, she's made important contributions to both research and practice in 3 areas: careers, work family, and diversity. In her work on careers, Lottie noted that traditional career development procedures weeded out misfits and with them the potential for new ideas and approaches. In her work in the work family area, Lottie co-led a project that provided the first evidence that it's possible to create changes in the workplace that benefit and enhance firm performance and productivity while at the same time enhancing the work experience and work-family integration of employees. And finally, in her work on diversity, Lottie worked with a group of senior women scientists at MIT to study the experience of female science faculty. She and her research group showed that even highly successful women scientists, members of the National Academy, widely known for their research, were subject to subtle discrimination based on a pattern of powerful but unrecognized manipulations and assumptions and attitudes that worked systematically against them. And she's led a very influential study of race and been a leader in developing women science faculty. So congratulations, Lottie. And finally, our Distinguished Contribution, or Scholarly Contributions Award. And the award this year goes to Jane Dutton. Jane is the Robert L. Kahn Distinguished University Professor at the University of Michigan. She earned her Bachelor of Arts degree in Sociology at Colby College in Maine, and both her Master of Arts and Doctor of Philosophy in OB at the Kellogg School at Northwestern. She's held regular faculty positions at NYU and University of Michigan, and she's a Fellow of the Academy. Jane's an eminent scholar who's made fundamentally original, important, and lasting contributions to at least 6 core domains of organizational scholarship: identity and identification, adaptation and change, strategic issues and issue selling, social responsibility, interpersonal relationships, and the meaning of work. Jane has also been in the forefront of several emerging scholarly fields. The unifying theme of her research involves exploring how organizational conditions can strengthen the capabilities of individuals, groups, and entire firms. What's most striking about Jane's research is the creativity, elegance, and rigor of her theorizing. Her theoretical signature is distinguished from mainstream management scholarship by 3 exemplary attributes: challenging core assumptions, unpacking processes that link macro and micro dynamics, and pioneering research in important but neglected phenomena. Jane's groundbreaking work has challenged management scholars to question many of their fundamental assumptions. She is, to paraphrase one of her nominators, a genuine let's unsettle some settled issues kind of researcher. Over the course of her career, Jane has combined divergent and convergent thinking to illuminate the social processes through which organizational contexts shape members' actions and experiences. Jane's work has also been central to the development of the multi-level view of organizational processes and actions that contemporary management scholars take for granted. She's been a pioneer in drawing the attention of management scholars to key topics in organizational life that are poorly understood. In short, she's broadened and deepened our understanding of organizations, opening our eyes to vital but previously overlooked phenomena, processes, and dynamics. So congratulations, Jane. And Michael Freeze will be here next for the George Terry Award.
Hello, my name is Mike Frese. I'm not the chair of the committee. I'm just, I just jumped in for Peter Capelli, who could not be here. This is the award committee, and I would urge the finalists to come forward, please. We have one finalist sitting there, but we have not the other two finalists sitting there. So if you come forward, I would appreciate that. This is the award committee. So it's Ruth Aguilera, it's Anne-Marie Knott, and it's Maria Rotundo, and of course, Peter Capelli, who is the chair. These are the award criteria. The book had to be published within the last 2 years. It had to be judged to be the most outstanding contribution to the advancement of management knowledge, and the contribution can be useful for management theory, conceptualization, research, or practice. This is a big, prestigious award, and we have 3 finalists. The first finalist is John Pierce and Iro Chisilla. Would you stand up, please? Okay, thank you. The second, I don't see anybody standing up, to be quite honest. The second one is Arne Kalleberg. Would you stand up, please? Here's Arne Kalleberg. And the third finalist is Pavitra Mehta and Suchitra Chenoy, and Pavitra Mehta is here. This is a different kind of award. None of the finalists know who is going to be the award winner, okay? And this is the award winner. Arne Kalleberg received the George R. Terry Book Award for his book, Good Jobs, Bad Jobs, The Rise of Polarized and Precarious Employment Systems in the United States, 1970s to 2000s. If you would come forward, please. This book is extremely timely, as you probably all know, and it talks about the issue of how polarization happened in the United States in terms of quality of job security, in terms of the development of having people who have primarily good jobs and other people who have primarily bad jobs in the middle sort of vanishing to some extent. And there's a need for a new social contract being described in the book, and it's been recognized by the committee as being a good synthesis of the historical process of polarization of jobs that appeared in the United States. So let me congratulate you. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Is this the one? It's heavy. All right, Major. This is Major Chan. Major, I have pleasure working with you for the last 3 years on the Board of Governors. In the last 3 years, I've seen a very special person who's going to take over this gavel. You have been an incredible colleague to work with. You are, I like to use the word compassionate. You are truly compassionate. You share the values of the Academy. I know you're going to do great, but we have high expectations. And I know you're going to surpass our expectations. So this is a very heavy gavel. Be careful, okay?
I'm humble and honored by the acceptance of the Academy President's gavel, and especially coming from the hands of Anne Chui. And I look forward to a year of growth, learning, and also revealing, reflecting, and both at the personal level and also excitement both at the personal level and also at the organization level. And I want to thank Anne again for this tremendous leadership in the past year. And I will surely hope, with the hope to live up to the expectation that both you and the Board of Governors and also the whole membership to this tremendous responsibility. And with that, and I would like to acknowledge the tremendous contribution. Now I'm looking for Susan. Okay. And Susan, could you please come over? Before Susan, just wait. For the last 3 years, I have been on board, and Susan has impressed and also intrigued me as someone with a vision which is very much aligned with that of the Academy, enable and inspire a better world through our words and most importantly, our deeds. And Susan is bold, creative, decisive, and also to-do action orientation always inspire me. So with that, on behalf of the Academy, I want to thank you. Chinese tea with Monticello flavor. So I would like you to add to your afternoon ceremony so you can truly enjoy not only American coffee but also Chinese tea. But before you do that, I would like to throw away this Academy Management bag in front of our friends here, so you can truly enjoy this without thinking about the Academy, at least for the next year.
Who wants the mic?
Go ahead. So you. With this, I hope I would like to close this program, and I wish you all the best enjoying the conference, and certainly it could be, I very much look forward to seeing you all, and we will be moving from Boston, a city with a rich past and revolutionary thinking, to Orlando, a city with a rich future with imagination and also dynamism. I look forward to seeing you all in Orlando, and have a wonderful conference. Thank you.